pretty sure it's awesome. Won't make a difference. Just watching the intro play.
Welcome to Not Another Wrestling Talk Show, the show for wrestling fans everywhere. Your hosts, as always, are Fog Jones at the Fog Jones on X/Twitter, and the Masked J. Feed your mask on X/Twitter. Join us every week as we discuss the latest wrestling news, rumors, and reviews. So whether you're a casual fan or a hardcore enthusiast, Not Another Wrestling Talk Show is the show for you. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe, share, and hit the thumbs up and that bell for notifications on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to follow us on social media for the latest updates. Thanks for listening. And
what's going on, you guys? It's Fog Jones. This is Not Another Wrestling Talk Show. This is episode 4. Now, I'm going to say this right off the bat because some of you might get a little confused. The voice in the intro is the voice of our guest who we have here today. His name is Phil. Welcome,
thank you.
Phil.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Glad to be here. Thank you, gentlemen. So welcome to Not Another Wrestling Talk Show. Oh, wait.
Oh, that was good. That was good. So thanks for doing that, by the way. I actually really love that intro. I'm glad you did that, reached out. We got a lot to talk about. In fact, I had this whole list, and my list is not good compared to yours. So we're gonna get my stuff out of the way. But yeah, so glad everyone's joining us. This is actually our first live episode. We're going to be doing another one later on today with Alexis Gray, who was part of the recently released WWE Talent. She was in the Next in Line program. If I got any of that wrong, Jay, let me know.
No.
But let's quickly touch on. Let's get to it. Let's touch on Fastlane real quick. What did you guys think? We'll start with you, Phil. Like, what was your thought on the show? And then we'll talk about the press conference after, because I think that was just as entertaining, maybe. But go ahead.
Overall, I really enjoyed it. Jay made the point off air that some people thought that this was like one of the worst ones in recent history. I would have to disagree. Of course, don't ask me what I think is a worse one right now. But I was really love the Judgment Day and Jay and Cody. I am super shocked Cody and Jay won. Really shocked, especially because Jay just got out of the bloodline and they're pushing him as main event, and all of a sudden he's tag team champion again. And then the LWO against what do they call themselves? The Street or
right. So right now it's just Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits, but I unofficially named them the Hurt Profits.
The Hurt Profits. There you go. I thought that was really good, and with Carlito coming back, and then the triple threat match. And I just enjoyed the whole thing. Also surprised that we didn't see a cash in at the end with
they teased it
and the thing.
That was definitely a good tease last night with it.
Absolutely. But no, I really enjoyed the show. Really enjoyed, especially that first match.
Yeah. Oh, good opener. Super good opener. And shocking too. And like, I think maybe I wonder, I kind of feel like maybe fans are just expecting that big surprise now on all the premium live events, and that being either Nakamura having won, which he did not, or Damian Priest attempting to cash in, which he did not.
Right.
So I think maybe the big shocker was in that first match, and then it was as expected from there on out. And therefore it's not necessarily that it was a bad show, but it's like almost like they didn't get that dopamine rush, that quick hit. But Jay, what was your thought on it? You liked the show, right?
I liked the show. I thought it was a pretty solid card, and the matches actually, for the most part, delivered. It didn't have anything really that newsworthy. I mean, outside of Carlito returning, which I'm so glad he did because I'm a huge fan. Outside of that, what was there? I mean, what are you going to talk about besides Cody Rhodes and Jay are the new tag champs? Which was pretty shocking because I don't think anybody actually saw that coming. It seemed like the majority were expecting Judgment Day to retain by something screwy, but instead we got the shocking win by Jay Uso, freaking Cody Rhodes, which got a good pop, and everybody was like, holy crap, no way. It happened.
Yeah, there just wasn't a lot of like simple story advancement. There was more complex story advancement. Like the ongoing joke, I was laughing so hard. A few people on my timeline were saying Cody finished the story, and it's just like You know, it's
never
like
gonna
story.
stop until
it's
never gonna stop,
complex.
guys.
Complex story. So, you know, obviously that title change is going to take on multiple layers, and you're going to have what happens next with Cody and Jay, right? I mean, is there going to be a turn from one of them? And then realistically, I think that was truly meant to create more friction within the Judgment Day. So it's more like, where do they go from here? Because Cody and Jay are going to do their own thing. Possibly Cody gets traded to SmackDown, and then something happens with Bloodline and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I get it. I thought the show was good, but I think fans are just like, they were looking for a little more tease. It was like Jade Cargill just showed up, you know, and Jade Cargill's there.
I mean, they had her on the pre-show, so that's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I just think a lot of fans these days, they really like that, like the way that AEW debuted Edge. I thought that was just so captivating and cinematic, to be honest.
Who? Who's who?
Excuse me, the Rated R superstar Adam Copeland.
Okay,
I apologize.
No, he's
sorry.
always going to be Edge.
Had to make sure.
Always going to be Edge.
Now, did everyone catch the conference afterward, the post show?
I wish they did.
I caught the a little bit of Triple H, and then Jay Jay and Cody being.
You have to catch that.
They
Right?
didn't
so
they
lit.
should go on tour as comedians. Like
Jay was so lit. Dude was straight up buzzing, and he was wilding the whole freaking time. I loved every second of it. And the constant fight with the titles, trying to keep them up.
Oh, I said that to my wife. I was like, watching Jay try and keep those titles on his shoulders is a show in itself.
That was the
best
show.
I really liked when Cody did that dramatic lean in, and he goes, "Do you feel him, sir?" Yeah, that had me rolling too. So
I mean,
that's
I think
tough
that
question. Tough question.
Tough question. Yeah, I think their press conferences are they're entertaining, they're educational, but I think I get a lot of people's complaints about those two where they're in character, and I believe AEW was doing that first, the press conferences after their shows, and it was very much shoot. It was very real. Whereas in WWE, especially like your heels, you get a Roman on there. He's Roman Reigns. The curtain is not peeled back at all. You know what I mean? But I think yeah. So I was gonna say Jay and Cody. I think they peeled their own curtain back with a couple sips. You know what I mean? Go ahead, Phil.
Right.
And speaking of the press conferences, what I like about them is that compared to like sports press conferences, like you'll get the winning team and the losing team, and typically when the losing team goes up there, they're always talking about, oh, I got to do better and we just got to practice and whatever. But in this situation, when you have the winners come in and they just are talking about it, it's a lot of positivity and enjoyment. And the questions are like, I could not imagine being a reporter in that room trying to ask a question like the ones about Cody finishing the story. Like that makes sense because that's been a continuing thing. But like, what are you going to ask? You know, what are you going to ask like Triple H? Like, what do you think? What do you think Cody and Jay showed in this match? Like, well, they showed that they won because I told them they were going to win. Like, you know, it's like it's interesting. But I did not realize that AEW did it first. Like, I didn't know that was like because these WWE ones are quite recent, right?
They're fairly new. Yeah, I think Crown Jewel. Someone's going to correct me, so I'm not going to finite that. But I think it was it was like a Crown Jewel maybe last year that they started to do that. But yeah, AEW has been doing it for at least I want to say maybe since inception. I'm not sure, but a couple of years now.
But are the AEW ones also in character? Like when?
No, totally out of character. It's very real, and that's also to their detriment too, because that's kind of what sparked a lot of the speculative issues that they have now with CM Punk, where he was basically saying he works with children and you know pulled back the curtain a little too much. You know what I mean? But yeah, so the WWE ones are like in and out of character. It's like it's almost as if the baby faces are out of character and the heels, some of them like Austin Theory, Roman Reigns, they tend to stay in character. Did you guys catch John Cena kind of making two things I think notable from that press conference in regards to John Cena? One being he was kind of talking about his own performance, you know, saying I'm looking in the mirror. I don't think I'm performing at the level I'd like to. Did anyone catch that?
The biggest thing I noticed when he was talking was just that you know once Hollywood calls, he's on. Yeah. I mean, once the strike ends and they come to an agreement, I mean that's it for this run for Cena, unfortunately.
Yeah,
you know that's why Triple H was even saying, you guys got to appreciate him while he's here because it's not going to be forever. And That's pretty damn true at this point.
Yeah.
Damn.
And he does like, you know, I mean, I certainly wouldn't want to get into a fight with him, but he's looking like he is looking a little, you know, older, you know,
more his age.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, he's got Fog's hair.
Yeah,
well, in the back.
Yeah, in the back. Yeah, my front is his back. I think he's hard on himself, and I get it. I'm like that with myself too. But also, John Cena's not wrestling every single week. He's not training to wrestle like as if he's an active wrestler. So to say all that is kind of strange in a way where it's like, hey, you know, I kind of expected I'd perform at the level I did when I was full time. Now that I wrestle, you know, this is my first time in X amount of months, or you know, even a year prior to that. But yeah, like, and then and I thought some people were going to give him some heat about the Hollywood stuff, but at the same time, he did kind of state they were in the middle of a project, so he has that commitment. And so it's not that he's like, I'm just going to leave. He can't, right? So yeah, so I thought that was interesting, and yeah, we'll see what happens. And I do agree. If you are a Cena fan, you should appreciate him while he's here, because
absolutely.
He could be gone tomorrow. So
I mean, with layoffs and releases, you got to appreciate all of them. You know, appreciate all your favorite superstars. You know.
Yep. I agree. Cool. Let's get into some fun stuff. Phil, you had some. I'm going to get a couple of the more basic things out of the way.
Sure.
And for those listening, just a quick thing that we've talked about in the first episode, and we've touched on a little bit here and there. The interesting dynamic here that we find is that I'm more of a casual fan. Jay is a little bit more of that hardcore fan to an extent, you know, not extremely hardcore, but he's got his finger on the pulse a little bit more than I do. And then Phil is more of your true natured casual fan. Keeps up the product, follows it. Definitely more of WWE, knows AEW exists, but isn't necessarily watching that show. You know, sees the hot stuff, right, Phil? That's fair to say, right?
No, absolutely. You know, and so, you know, so I'm 36, so I'm prime Attitude Era fan. That's when I first started watching, somewhere in the late 80s, late 90s. And I think because my friends were watching it, and then I got into it, and there was a period from maybe 98-ish to 2001, 2002, where I watched it religiously. Not so much WCW, but you know, WWF when it was there. Post Bret Hart, you know, right when DX was going bananas and Austin was coming up, and I watched it religiously. And I distinctly remember, you know, I moved from New York to Florida in 2001, and some pay-per-view happened over might have been SummerSlam. And I remember like talking with my friends back in New York about the Hardy Boys like losing or something, and like really being like super bummed. And I watched it a lot, and then, you know, what really turned me off to it was the invasion angle, and like all the WCW people coming in, and I'm like, I don't want to watch this. Like,
I tuned right out.
I was just like, but I did not understand the literal business, what was going on, that Vince bought them, and that they were going under, and that if what's his name, friggin' Bischoff, if they were going to try to redo WCW, but the money fell through and they didn't want to do the deal. Like, I had no idea about the business aspect, but the invasion angle,
we're kids, right?
Yeah, like shut it down. And then for years I didn't watch it, and then in the late 2000s I poked in a little bit, and the reason why is because on USA there were these two shows, Burn Notice and Royal Pains. Great shows on USA, but they would always run ads for Monday Night Raw, and that's when they were also doing, like 2009, they're doing like the guest GM host, which was not good, but I would poke in there, and then what really brought me back into it was the pandemic. You know, there was I watched a lot of Twitch TV, and there was a guy who was streaming a lot of wrestling shows, and I was just watching it from like the mid 90s to 2002, 2003, and it just kind of rekindled my enjoyment for it. So then I watched the actual product. And then when they did the Thunderdome, it's very close to the area where I live. And it was very interesting. And just...
I know, I always wanted to go in there. I just wanted to, can I get in?
Just
be like the one guy. Can I be in between a screen or something?
That building but not, you know, what it was meant for. And, you know, what's funny is that the match that Roman and Kevin Owens had. Like I forget the hardcore one, but where Kevin Owens goes through the golf cart. Like I've been in that outfield. Like it's so funny to see what's going on at that time. But yeah, so that and I've been watching it ever since. I try to watch every live event that I can, if not live, then after the fact. Fog, you and I will get together sometimes and watch the big ones. But yeah, I just have been really getting back into it and enjoying it, and really, really trying to follow it, the WWE part of it at least.
Yeah, it's hard too when I'm 35 and it's hard. You have limited time, and
sure,
how much time are you gonna divulge? But I get it. Yeah, you have to be kind of pick and choose, and WWE really has done a great job of captivating, just giving you more of a pleasure as a casual viewer, where you don't have to know too much about what's going on outside of WWE, because it is technically this bubble. So I get it. I'm the same way. I watch AEW when I can and have a couple extra minutes and whatnot, but it's also hard. And in fairness to them, they've been around 4 years. So 4 years versus 30 something,
like 4 decades.
Yeah,
they've been
the
around
history
for
isn't
quite some time.
there. And my childhood, impossible to have been connected to them. And my whole reason for watching again was, my wife. I mean, we've known each other forever. So, Ashley's pregnant. We're having a boy, and I'm thinking, I'm a boy. I liked wrestling when I was a kid. There's a good chance, right?
They put two and two together.
So I started watching it. It was the Thunderdome era, and I was like, well, Brock Lesnar's still here. I have no excuse not to watch. And so yeah, so I agree with that. Now, Jason, we've touched on this before, but you really started during those Monday Night Wars, right? But it sounds like you stuck around during the WCW invasion, right?
I mean, all right. So yeah, I've been a fan for a very, very long time.
Yeah,
absolutely love wrestling as a whole. WWF, I got involved back in the Attitude Era. That's what turned me on to the product. Obviously, it's been some rough years in between until we got to this point. And yeah, I would say the Thunderdome era definitely was interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to sound like Dave Meltzer here with the sorry about that. No. The reality is, he blocked me. I don't know.
You won't see this.
Watch my language. Crap. Yeah. I stuck around. Let's just say that. Even when it was its lowest and roughest points, I still stuck around to enjoy the show. As well, somewhat enjoy. The reality is, a lot of it sucked. And I understand that, but I was so deep into
you're waiting for it to come back, and it's going to come back.
Kind of
get better again. Yeah,
kind of. And I really enjoyed learning the aspects of the backstage, fun part of it, or the whole business side of it. That was really fun, and it was interesting, even more interesting than the actual product they were putting on TV. So that's kind of when I started diving in the rabbit hole of producers, the production, the creative team, and just starting to find my way to these people and talking with them, and then slowly getting to where I was and where I am now.
Cool.
Absolutely.
So with that said, since we have this span of fandom here, we're not new fans per se. There's a bit of a lapse here. I want to talk about top wrestlers, like favorites. I was gonna say 5 or 10. I don't want to give a number because I feel like that's tough. You're forced to make a list here. But yeah, Phil, let's start with you.
Sure.
I like to kind of think of it like this. Do you have top of all time, and or do you have top right now, or you can blend them together? Go ahead, take it away.
Sure.
Give me your top people you're watching now, and then of all time. I guess.
So calm me. So right now, Cody's probably the top one. And this iteration of Cody, not like Legacy Cody or AEW,
Stardust?
like Stardust, this Cody. Really excited. I don't mean to once again beat a dead horse, but he should have beat Roman at WrestleMania. Like what a moment! But I mean, it's only the bottom of the fifth inning or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's Cody. He's part of one of my hot takes for later. LA Knight, out of nowhere, really talk about captivating.
Yeah.
I knew a guy. So my dad, he does a lot of business, and he when he was living in South Florida, he did a lot of business with ex-football players.
Okay.
And like, there's this one guy that he brought in who I only ever met once, and like, boy, like just like charisma, and you just meet him and you want to be his friend, and it was just like captivating. And never known the guy before. That's what LA Knight is for me. Like, you just want to meet him and be like damn, like you hope he succeeds and he does well and all that stuff. So I really like him. Rhea Ripley, she's super great.
Yeah.
Like, like,
mommy.
and this whole goth angle, like, boy,
Yep.
boy, oh boy. And she's also like she's like really strong, like physically strong,
impressive, super impressive.
And I want to see her like fight like a guy. Like, I want her like to kick the crap out of like Kevin Owens, or you know, knock out. Like, I mean, last night if she just beat the crap out of Cody, like I would have been totally fine with, like that would have been really awesome to see that bridging, because there's still like this line in between the men and women. And then who else? I really like Damian Priest. Not to make this about the Judgment Day. I don't like the rest of the Judgment Day, but like Damian Priest, I really like his look and style. Yeah, Finn Balor, like the whole demon thing. Well, it's all personal preference.
Yeah, I get that.
Damn. And Dom's a great heel, but like that's about it.
He gets good heat.
Dom is the ultimate heel. Let's not not give him his flowers here.
No, fair. And then like to round out the most recent, I regret Dolph Ziggler. Ziggler got released. Really liked him.
That was brutal.
So sad. But then to talk about the top all time is probably Bret Hart. You know, that not to be with everyone else, but really loved him. Love to watch him wrestle. And like, talking about getting back into it, watching those old shows, like seeing him in his prime in like the mid 90s, like really great. And then The Rock and Austin, like those are all like the Attitude Era stuff. Shawn Michaels, like the whole thing. Those are all my big ones for sure.
Really?
What about you, Jason? Who you got today, all time?
Today? Oh, I mean, that's an easy answer. I mean, LA Knight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay, so LA Knight's your guy right now.
LA Knight is my guy right now. Besides, like, you got Karrion Kross, Scarlett, which I think are fascinating. You have the Righteous in AEW/ROH. Vincent and Dutch are just phenomenal people. Okay, all these people, all this talent in general between both companies, all three companies, if you want to include Impact, which everybody should.
You should.
You got everyone of different flavors in all these companies. It's so hard to choose like an all-time favorite for modern era. For me at least, just because there are so many. There's so many characters. It's insane. Think about it. I mean, just go to Impact and look at all the characters that they have. And then jump over to AEW, look again. Then jump to WWE and NXT, and you have
a lot of talent. Lots of
oh
talent.
my god! And that's not counting the hundreds and thousands of independent companies out there that are producing content on TV as well. I mean, it's insane the amount of people out there that are involved with this business at this point is so insane. It's blowing up. It does kind of take me back to the Attitude Era and a little bit before that when things were really starting to get rolling, with TV ratings, of course, blowing up back then. You had WWE, of course, buying WCW and ECW. And then you got, there's a lot to it right now. And it's a very good time to be a fan. That's why I don't like this tribalism that's out there.
I hate it. Yeah,
sure.
It's okay to love a specific product. It really is. And to be a very big fan. But it's not okay to shit all over the other product because they're doing some good stuff right now. Like AEW is doing great. Okay, maybe their ticket sales are kind of low right now. That's a whole separate podcast. Okay, but they're doing fine.
I think our argument here, just to sum that up, is like you're taking food off of the table for people if you're looking for failure. Like, I want them to succeed, and I am someone who I defend them on Twitter, and I barely watch their show. It's because I don't have time. But I don't want them to not be there. I want them to do better, but I don't want them to not be there because there's, like you said, they probably, I mean, they have way more people on their roster for wrestlers than
Hey,
WWE does, and that's
Phil, here's a comment. Do you comment from somebody in the live chat?
Sure.
Do you feel like Rhea Ripley could be the next China?
You know, I've heard that a lot, and she actually did her she had that homage to China in her outfit the other time. I do think so, because China was Intercontinental Champion twice. She was in the Men's Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
But I think, with all due respect to China, Rhea's the better wrestler, and I think she could go the distance and do one of those things. And I think not just the next China, but like the next evolution of China.
I like that. I think that's the right
I agree.
For sure.
wording for that. Sorry to cut everybody off with that.
No,
you're good.
When we see live
You're good,
comments,
yeah.
might as well use them, right?
Yeah, and we'll have to promote that more in the future, because again, this is our first time going live. So, but just to
and the best part,
we are gonna.
Best part was everybody could hear us chatting during the intro. It was beautiful.
Good.
Oh, great.
Good.
I hope so.
We don't know what we're doing, so
well,
not
we
my
partially
fault.
know.
I'm just a guest. I'm just
we partially know, and there's going to be kinks like we said last week, and the 2 weeks ago, and then the week before that. Every week, every time we play, every time we record or air. Yeah, it's all a learning lesson, and that's kind of the beauty of this. And everybody that's supporting us now, and they continue to watch us grow and get better and improve. I mean, I appreciate it, and I know Bob definitely does. And Phil, I really appreciate you coming on, just because it's nice to have that third person, especially with your knowledge of the business and where you stand as a fan. I think that's great.
Awesome, thank you.
Agreed. Yep. So everyone's top wrestlers. I'll just name mine real quick. So Brock's my favorite all time. I just think Brock brings like a realism to the sport. And when he left, I was kind of like keeping an eye. And I liked Kane. Kane and Brock are my two. Kane might be second, or he might be tied. I'm not sure. But like,
I like
the booking of Kane really shot me down as a kid when he was kind of enhancement talent, and he took his mask off, and I was like, whatever. Yeah. But like, big. Drew is my favorite now, and he might eventually become my all-time favorite. I'm a big Drew McIntyre fan.
Yeah, you are.
I love Karrion Kross, that presentation. I used to tell my wife, I'm like, if they pick him from NXT, they could just main event WrestleMania because of that entrance alone, like as a surprise. Just if that was his first appearance back, nobody should have been mad about that. Not necessarily that's where you had to go with him, but just in general, obviously I was very disappointed with what they did with him before he got released that previous time. But other than that, I love Braun Breaker, big fan of Braun Breaker, Will Ospreay, Will Hobbs, Brian Cage, big Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair fan.
Oh yeah.
I think my favorite female wrestler right now has to be Chris Statlander, though. AEW. Statlander is just something special. Jamie Hayter's great too, don't get me wrong, but Chris Statlander, like, man, what I would give to see Statlander and Rhea Ripley get like 30 minutes. Like,
man.
WrestleMania, man.
Yeah, that's a main event for WrestleMania right there.
Man, could you imagine that match? Phil, are you familiar with Chris Statlander?
I know the name. I know a lot of the names, but I can't say I know the action behind them.
If you ever get a chance, check out literally any Chris Statlander match, and I'm sure it's fine. Especially
absolutely.
They're all exciting.
Do it.
Cool. So if we're good with that, I want to get to some hot takes, because we were talking before we hit the button. Before we started speaking over our intro, we were talking about some of these hot takes.
Oh my god!
I had a list. My list wasn't good. Phil's list is fantastic.
It was crap.
So I'll let you take it away, Phil. I know you had a list, so give us
sure. Okay, so the first item I have on my hot take list, and actually, one wrestler who I did not mention, who I was a really big fan of, is Billy Gunn. And I really enjoyed him and his performance, and like, there's a really not a funny clip, but there's sometimes you watch old matches, and there's a match that The Rock and China and Billy Gunn had against Right to Censor in like 2000 on SmackDown, and like The Rock's cutting a promo, and he's like, what about Right to Censor versus The Rock, and the crowd goes ballistic. China, the crowd goes slightly less ballistic, and Billy Gunn, and it goes just okay. And I feel so bad. It's like, it's hard to pair them together. But one of the hot takes I have is that I think there's a weird over-reliance on older talent right now.
Yeah.
I would say more in AEW. again, and this is me speaking as someone as a background. My knowledge of AEW is very like high level. Like I'm a baseball and football fan, but I know about like the big stuff that happened in like basketball and hockey, like players and championships and stuff. That's my knowledge of AEW. Like I know that Edge has joined AEW and like Christian, the whole CM Punk saga. Like I know the big stuff. But you know, AEW has Edge now and Christian and CM Punk for a while and Samoa Joe and Billy Gunn and Sting and like WWE has, you know, Cena and The Rock came back the other week and friggin' Undertaker's coming to NXT, drop the last ride and call it a day. Like I don't know what like it seems to be like they are trying to bring in some older people, which was surprising. And I don't know what the books are like in AEW, but you know, WWE just released a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who are you going to get to fill the gap? Was it an issue of too many people and they had to cut back? Or was it like now they don't have enough people? And it just seems weird that on both sides that like, and they're talking about CM Punk coming back to WWE like that.
Why?
Like takes a roster spot. Like I to go back to sports, you know, when big players jump teams towards the end of like Brady coming to the Bucks, like, I mean, he's kind of the anomaly. They won the Super Bowl, but they expect the Tom Brady of 2002. Like, so when Cena comes in, you know, you want to see like Doctor of Thugonomics Cena, but the man's like 20 years older. And same thing with Edge going to AEW. Like, you want to see Spears off a ladder, but you know, they're getting older. And I just find it surprising that there seems to be this reliance on this older talent on both sides. And like, it feels like, and they always talk about like they can uplift the new talent, but like, what does that look like in practice? Does that actually happen?
Yeah.
It depends on who is the, like, I fully expect someone like an Edge to go in there and bring someone up, but like CM Punk, like, you know, so I think that's my first say. I think there's too much reliance on the older talent right now.
I agree. What are your thoughts, Jay?
I mean, which part?
Do you think there's too much reliance on older talent? I mean, like he said, like John Cena's here. Now, John Cena's a little bit different, I think, because it's kind of special that he's back.
I think
but at the same time, it's almost like they need it.
It has to be done in moderation. There we go. And I think the way that WWE is doing it is more moderation. Obviously, we have to utilize Cena as much as possible because he is the GOAT. Let's face it. And The Rock. When was the last time he actually showed up again? Besides recently?
I don't know.
The Rock,
before I was watching.
couple of years ago with Becky Lynch, I think.
Yeah.
I
believe so, yes. But that's the point is they're not utilizing all their veterans that are big money. Like Austin shows up probably for WrestleMania, maybe the occasional Raw. Undertaker is, I mean, outside of NXT now for where he's probably just going to show up, talk, and maybe do a choke slam. And that's
Probably
it.
choke slam.
Sure.
Choke slam somebody on somebody, and that's pretty much it. I guarantee it. I mean, it's not like he's going to be like, well, I got one more match left in me. Somebody's going to rest in peace.
Never say never.
I'm never say never in wrestling, but
no, that's his. I'm quoting him. Like he said that when
know.
he gave his, you know. Yeah.
And I think that's more of him just showing up again.
Sure.
Kind of like he did with Bray Wyatt.
Right.
And, you know, when after Bray returned. By the way,
we're lucky to have gotten that moment too, by the way. But yes.
Yeah. God rest in peace. Ugh.
Yep. We're very lucky to have gotten that moment.
It's 1 year since he did his return.
Crazy.
Today.
I saw that. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's wild.
Yeah.
I don't. To continue on what I'm talking about, because that is obviously, you know, a rough subject with the mask behind me.
Yep.
Nevertheless, to get back on the subject, I don't believe they are. I think AEW does utilize a lot of veterans, but they're not doing a terrible job of them. But I think both companies need to continue to focus solely on the younger talent and writing compelling stories that will captivate the fans, which is a problem, I think, for a lot of the companies is getting those stories going and keeping them going and making them, you know, exciting. It's like the Bloodline. I know a lot of people are like, oh, the Bloodline story is so boring now, or it's dead, or it's blah, blah, blah.
It is.
It's not, though. And in WWE's eyes, it's not. That's what I'm trying to say.
Of course.
In their eyes, they're like probably in the seventh inning.
Yeah.
And maybe even a little bit before that at this point. Maybe they're taking their stretch, okay, to continue using baseball terms.
Yeah, 7th inning stretch. And Jay made the point in the press conference last night talking about the bloodline. Like people are like, I think that's when someone asked Cody if he finished the story, and Jay's like, people are so concerned about where the story's going. Why not enjoy the ride? And I completely empathize with that point. But the problem is like when your TV show feels like it's going on its like 40th season, you kind of want to know where it's going. You know what I mean? Like if this is 2 years ago, like that's unfair criticism. But like Roman is like champion for what seems like forever now, and I could see both sides. I can see the compelling continuation of it, but I can also see like, every great thing has to come to an end, and it's like, where's it going to go?
It's coming to an end.
I would have to believe it too.
If you look at the whole entire story arc and where they're at now, it's coming to an end. It's been and that final stretch basically, and people just gotta be patient.
So we talked about this earlier, and I think like what happens to going back to Roman real quick. So I think some people's frustration, and I would guess mine would be this too, is it's fine that the story go on for 6-10 years or whatever they're doing here, but Roman doesn't need the belt for those 6 to 10 years. And I get they're trying to. I'm not gonna say because I know that's gonna be our next our next topic, but I think that would be the big deal here is Roman is holding these titles. He's really not there that much. And then that could lead us to our next hot topic that is Phil's hot topic. I'm not going to take credit for it. And that they're doing a lot of this stuff now to break records that don't really matter. And Roman, I think, is a great example. Like, okay, you want him to break records to break the record. This isn't the UFC. This is a scripted sport. So Roman breaking a record is someone saying Roman's going to break a record. It's not he went into the UFC and he's been undefeated and he retires undefeated, like a Khabib Nurmagomedov,
or even actually care about about those records still. That's the thing. Like it can be scripted all at once, but a lot of the fans actually care about it.
We don't know how many though, and that's the thing is how many people could have been lifted up from having that belt for some period of time. I'm not saying it's
I'll agree with that sentiment as far as what could have happened if say Cody did finish that story at WrestleMania. I think the story itself was actually it benefited from him losing.
Yeah, but is it better that he waits a whole another year and Roman doesn't lose that title? You have a whole year where you could have had 2 other people go over and
more than
get your namesake.
I mean,
if you want to keep the belt prestigious, you don't want to play hot potato with it, right?
Exactly.
That's like the big blunt argument with like tag titles is they play hot potato, or even a lot of the titles in wrestling in general sometimes feel like the 24/7 championship. Maybe that's why they retired it. But
so do you want the title to continue to be prestigious and mean something, kind of like a lot of people with Seth Rollins now? Begging, they were wanting him to win. And now that he's won, they can't wait to see him lose it. How's he build it up?
I think that is a victim of the other title not going anywhere. Like, because I think that Seth's title is much more likely.
I think we lost
Jay.
He's back.
There he is. He's back. Seth's title is much more likely to be taken from him because. Wait, so they're going to take away the. Oh, are we still going? Are we still good?
Oh, we're having technical.
Hey,
there we go.
We're back.
We're having technical difficulties.
First one.
I see nothing on my end. Everything looks fine on my end.
The guest is making a great point.
Good. Over here on my screen, everything kind of dropped. I don't even see his video anymore. I love it live.
My video.
Yeah, I see it on YouTube. So I think we're good.
Okay.
Keep on chatting.
Oh, and there goes. All right. So so the with the main title not going anywhere, Seth's title is much more likely to disappear. And I think the reason why I made that take about the record, it's like I understand wanting it to be prestigious and having that gravitas go towards it, but 1,100 days, and they wanted Gunther to beat the Honky Tonk Man's record. Yeah. They decide how long, like if it was one of those things, like I always say WWE would be so much more, not that it isn't captivating, but it would be like the most captivating sport ever if it was completely, if it was, you know, them determining in the ring who was going to win what.
Yeah.
And if like
Yeah.
Roman was actually champion because he did all this for that long, like holy crap, like what a story. But like these weird, I personally just believe it's like a weird obsession with a record. I don't think they, I think the record comes to a point where it becomes ridiculous, and that's just me, you know. And I think that when it's over like you want a nice, like last night, Michael Cole casually mentions that Roman's been champion for like 1130 something days, and he said it like, "Oh, did you hear it's raining outside?" Like, you know, it's kind of gets to a point where it's like it's old news. And Fog, I really love your point about he could be the head of the table without the championship,
right?
Or like
it doesn't need the belt, especially if he's part-time.
I would feel a little better about it if he won clean, like ever. Like how many times does Solo have to come in there and do that spike, or like Jimmy's got to save Roman, like, you know, like I think it would be different. But the way it's structured now, it's just my opinion that it's too long and it's weird, like weird title obsession. Like, is he going to beat Bruno Sammartino? Like he's got a long record too. Like let's just keep it going. Like these record, you know. Just my thoughts.
Especially, it's not like he's defending it once every 1 or 2 months. I think he's been gone since SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Back to Rollins though, I was probably, I was first in line to say I think he deserved it the most, because I definitely thought like he deserved his thank you, and his thank you could be the first one to hold that belt. But then they book him against Finn Balor for 4 months. I don't remember. And then he just wins 3 matches back to back against Finn. And then his next feud is against Shinsuke, back against Finn. Or against Shinsuke.
Right.
So it's been 6 months since that title was created, roughly.
That's a great question. I have to look, but that sounds close. That does sound close.
And he's really had 2 feuds. Not that that's bad. You know, but he had a couple quick matches here, but those were so clearly obvious. Like he wasn't going to drop it to Braun Breaker. It was obvious. I'm sorry.
Right.
And then there was 1 or 2 other quick matches. I think he did one against Damian Priest and maybe one other person. But again, they were very fresh in the title reign. And so his meaningful feuds have gone on for a very long time against people who fans thought, hey, this person could also use a thank you. I mean, Shinsuke's been kind of overdue for his world title win. And then Finn is kind of overdue for a world title win. So let's have them lose 3 times in a row and then 2 times in a row. And so personally, I'm happy for Seth. I'm not frustrated about his title reign. I think he's actually doing a great job. I think his matches are all fantastic, but I could see where some of the impatient fans get. But I'm going to say this. Those people are probably also the same people who are obsessed with the bloodline and think Roman is the greatest thing ever. So at what point are we, you know what I'm saying? At what point are we you know, catering to hypocrites? I'm just saying, like, at what point, because we talk about this a lot. We say fans, how many fans out of how many? I need percentages. I need a pivot table. And I didn't know, is a
citation needed?
What's your source, bro? And I need, like, what is it, 40%? Or is this the IWC, which we constantly are saying is just a very small pocket of the WWE or just in general wrestling fandom? It's not, as far as I know, it's not this huge chunk of people, but yeah. So you also mentioned, so we're going to unfortunately rag on Roman, but you had another hot take.
Of course you are.
You want to take it away?
Yes. So another hot take.
Not me Roman, this time.
Another hot take is that I think he's nothing without Paul Heyman. Okay. I think that, you know, and I don't know if I would say that about Brock Lesnar. But Roman, I think, with Paul Heyman, the wise man in the court, because what is Roman? He broods, you know, he's confused about why people don't love him. He wants to be acknowledged. And then you got Paul Heyman over there just going bananas. Like, that's going to be a very sad day. Whenever Paul Heyman goes, it's going to be a very sad day. Like,
I really want to think of that day.
Like, so great. And like Roman is I think he's nothing without him. And like the matches are, you know, it becomes boring, repetitive. And again, with the not winning clean, and like I don't think that, like, I just nothing about Roman by himself makes me want to like watch that guy or be around that guy. It's like the people around him. And you could flip it. You could say that because of Roman's presence, the others are elevated.
There you
And
go.
you could say that too. But like
I'd say
again,
yeah.
People can stand on a stage, but the stage does nothing. Like it's just a stage. And is Roman the wind beneath their wings, or is he just a platform they stand on? So I think again just another hot take, and thinking that without Paul Heyman, Roman would have been whatever. Like what I couldn't imagine where they would have gone with it. Like probably would have tried to do the same thing, but the energy that Paul brings would have been severely lacking.
Agreed. I think people don't respect the exclusivity to a lot of this too. Like you made a great point that Jey Uso may not be quote unquote main event Jey Uso without having Roman there. And someone was, you could bring that up, but I don't think that's an argument to say that Roman has needed to hold these belts for 3 years or whatever. And then the whole confusion butterfly effect of him having 2 belts that are 1, but at one point there were 3 or whatever, that crazy. And then he's not really there, but he's still the champion.
Right.
He's, so it's like, Roman could have done that as the bloodline with Paul Heyman without, breaking records that no one knows about.
And you make a great point, Fog. Like if you, again, to go back to the era that I'm most familiar with, like when Rock was champion or Austin or Jericho or like whoever, like they were always there. Like and I'm not going to pretend being a WWE superstar is easy. Like 200 dates a year, like, or whatever crazy amount it is. And then having to travel and having a family. And, but even in 2002, when Rock was the WCW champion, and he goes against Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam, like the Rock is trying to be Hollywood Rock. And even in 2003, like towards the end, like he's still there. Like the champions are there. They're present. They show you why they're champion. Like it's, and I really hate the draft and the brand split. That's a whole nother story. But
it's not even real. They shouldn't even have that.
Draft.
An insult.
There's no draft
the
right
biggest
now.
insult
so
to our
dumb.
Intelligence.
But like
biggest
they,
insult to our intelligence.
That's definitely not the biggest.
Ever present.
Okay,
like, and
whatever.
even in like in the middle, like with Cena and the spinner belt and Edge, and like whenever they cash in, like when Dolph, he won the championship and he cashed in the briefcase. Like they were there, and Seth is doing such a great job with it. And Fog, you and I were talking about like how he was like in some of those promos, like I deserve it. Well, he really does. Like he really it's like he puts in the work.
Yeah.
And again, not to say like it's tough because you want him there, but like in your favorite TV show, like you want to see your favorite characters, but it's like one set they go and film every day. Like to go from like Toledo to Oklahoma City to friggin' Vegas, like what a mess.
Oh yeah.
So it's like I feel
brutal.
I feel for Roman, the human and the father and the family man, but I'm annoyed for the product because of that. And I hate that I have that dichotomy. I hate that I have trouble splitting that sometimes as a fan myself.
I tell Jay all the time, like, because I could be considered a Roman hater. I think his matches are boring. I think he's got a great look. I think his character's great. I think his matches are extremely boring and repetitive. I want to say since Tribal Chief, he's had like 40% of his matches have had a ref bump. Like that's a very specific spot to happen, and it's in the 40s. I think 40-something percent.
I think you're right with that one. But his presence in the ring is massive.
Yeah,
he is a larger than life character.
Absolutely, and I'm just detached from that. I wasn't a fan of The Rock, Cena, Stone Cold, so I'm detached from that whole like if you're popular, I like you too sort of thing. But like at the same time, I tell them all the time, if I were Roman, I'd do the same thing. And I even say all the time, if I were a wrestler, I'd probably just simply gone to AEW for the schedule alone, because I do think their schedule is absolutely brutal. And now that I have a back injury, a lower back injury, such as Seth does, I really am like, I watch this a little bit more like I could just imagine myself in there at any moment going, okay, I can't walk, right? I can't walk again, or something like that. And yes, that means a lot. And I'm still going to stand on the ground that I do think he should have dropped the belt by now. Personally, I would have had to drop it to Drew. And then if you were going to do that, it wouldn't have been so sour that Cody lost at WrestleMania. And like, you could have just had Drew win it at Clash and then had Roman win it at Mania or something like that.
Get it right back
next year. and then give it to Cody. Whereas now it's like, oh, Cody's going to main event WrestleMania twice in a row. It's not any sweeter this time. It's going to be exciting. Don't get me wrong, but I think we've crossed that diminishing returns now on his title reign, and I think that's just sad for a record. That's my opinion.
Unless it was never supposed to be Cody.
Could it? I mean, we don't know. That's the thing. That's the nature.
Hey, listen, if LA Knight keeps being the top merch seller, it might just LA Knight might be about to finish that story. So I'm just
not
saying,
one to spoil anymore. But you know, maybe it wasn't supposed to be. Maybe the long story arc was never meant for Cody. So the whole finish the story, that's going to happen eventually, someday.
Yeah, but he doesn't have to beat Roman. Roman's not
exactly
finishing. He just needs to win that particular belt. I mean, the person to beat Roman is whoever WWE decides. And like I said, if they're going by merch and who's the hottest guy right now, LA Knight is finishing Cody's story first. So I'm just saying, like, I don't know.
And and the anticipation is that, I mean, Cody's in his mid 30s. Like he's probably gonna be doing this.
He's 38 is it upper? Or 39.
Is it really? Oh man.
He's still.
But he's
not that old.
And no, he's probably got he's got the chance to be there for longer. Like I still in like the last, let's say, year and a half of opponents Roman had that
he's 38. Good.
Oh, thank you. I still think it should have been Cody. 1, 2 might be a semi hot take, but boy, what if Sammy won those belts, man? Like, that would have been like probably not good for. Not good for business, maybe, but like, wow, what a twist that would have been.
Good for fans.
Absolutely good for business still. It's Sami Zayn, man. Come on.
But and then again with Drew, I agree with you. Like Drew would have been a great choice. But then the problem is like with to your point, Fog, about how Seth rather has only had like the with Finn and Shinsuke, he's had 2 feuds.
Yeah.
Roman has had the revolving door that is the WWE talent, like Drew, Sammy, Cody, Jay, Kevin Owens twice, I think.
Or 3 times now. I don't even know.
Brock and the tractor, Brock's tractor, Brock's cowboy hat.
Okay.
Brock's braid.
Yeah, Brock's man bun. Like he has gone through. Like I thought. I mean, and this is my Final Fantasy RPG video game Phil talking, but like I thought it would have been really cool is if after Cody loses at WrestleMania, he spends the next year like wrestling all of the people that Roman beat, Drew and Sammy and Kevin, and like in that Mortal Kombat, like when you play Mortal Kombat and you see the thing go up, like he beats all of them, and then WrestleMania 40, he's trained, he's been in the hyperbolic time chamber for like a year, and like bam, beats Roman. He just lays waste to the whole roster.
But that requires patience, man. That requires a lot of patience.
Yeah, but
that's where we are now.
That's where we are now.
Like, there.
But you guys aren't being patient.
No,
everybody's complaining, but that means you're not being patient. You're just trying to force this story to happen instead of letting it just progress naturally.
But the problem is
you
that
get what I'm saying?
Natural progression.
I get what you're saying. I disagree. But
natural progression won't happen in a stagnation. Like it's a matter of whether or not you feel like, you're still invested, and you can't. It just like there's a difference between patience and like waiting. And if you were really into something, you'll be patient for it. But if you start to get frustrated and concerned and worry about it, then you're just waiting for something to happen.
Well, I'll say this: the ratings, whenever Roman's on and he does show up, it proves that the majority of fans are willing to be patient for him. Remember, a lot of the people that are screaming are mainly the vocal minority, and they really don't speak for the audience.
That's what we're always talking about.
Oh, of course. I think it's fine, but I think we're going to piss off all the Roman stands out there. That's okay. I don't really care. But
I might as well be called the heat seeker at this point. I'm not trying to be, because I'll be honest with everyone here. As much as I don't care for Roman myself, if I was the booker, I'd probably do exactly the same thing. I don't know, but I probably would, because it's all about the money at the end of the day. Now, if they're doing it for the sake of the reign, like just so that he's got a record, I wouldn't do it. I 100% not. But if it truly is better for business, fine. Okay. I do think, yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, and I do not mean this to be competitive, but do the ratings go up for Roman because he's somebody you don't see that often, and you want to see, or is it like you're waiting for something to happen? Like maybe this is the time
Because
something
he's the
happens.
draw. No matter
What's the
either
next
or,
feud?
it doesn't matter.
I
That's
think it
still the
doesn't matter
draw.
too.
Sure.
But I'll say this though, I personally think, and I get what you're saying, Jay, that when Roman is in the ring in those matches, they feel big. But I also don't know if that's Roman or the fact that those belts have been locked in a safe behind him for so long that you're just like, oh my God, are we going to see Roman drop the belts finally? So I'm not convinced psychologically, and I wish there was a therapist in the room with all millions of people watching and really trying to gauge this and say, because I'd like to know, is it you are like, wow, this is a great match? Because if you tell me it's a great match, I don't think you're a wrestling fan. I should clarify that, but I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
So, and then
listen, I don't like
you're
the
in
Superman
trouble
punch.
now.
Like,
oh,
look, Roman doesn't do excessively great matches where it's a ton of flip flop and
that doesn't matter.
flash
That doesn't
and
matter.
shine. It doesn't matter.
No, that
right.
doesn't matter.
But what he does,
Neither does Drew, and he's my
exactly,
favorite.
Exactly. Same with Drew. Both of them, everything has this purpose.
Yes.
Like every move, every look. Think about watch back all the Roman matches for the past 2 years and watch his movements, watch his facial expressions, watch everything that he does. It's all
his
done
crowd
with
interaction
purpose.
is next to nothing.
Nobody touches him as far as like the interactions that he does in that ring.
Yeah.
But
it's hard to argue, and again, it's hard to argue with the ratings because the ratings
draw.
don't lie. Yeah, he's a draw, but I still wonder if people are watching, going, "Is this the moment?"
But does that matter?
Is the moment? It doesn't, because it's drawing it's drawing money.
Doesn't
matter from a business perspective. No. However you can get the draw and the seats, but it's like from enjoyment probably doesn't matter as much if you're making money. I'm sure that's
a lot of money.
I'm sure that's a quote on some office somewhere, but that's tough, because it's like one of those things it seems like there is no clear one way or the other. Like it's like you can see all sides. By the way, to talk about other talent and other hot takes, to segue into it.
Let's do it.
CM Punk.
Oh man,
I don't get it.
It comes up every show.
I don't get it. I don't really like. Again, personal preference. I don't know what is, and I did not watch when he was the God King, apparently, who once held his own record. But they always talk about him and his realness, and then that promo. So the promo that where he's sitting down at the ramp, like
the pipe bomb.
The pipe bomb. I'm the type of person where it's like, if you tell me about something, I want to like read it or watch it myself and then pass judgment.
Right.
But like the pipe bomb promo is something that it's like everyone like talks about, like that he's so real and he's the realest man. And I watched it a couple weeks ago in preparation for this, and I didn't think it was like that like dramatic. Like maybe it was for the time, but like it was like nothing that no one else wouldn't like, making fun of the McMahons or like calling Hunter a doofus, like, oh wow, shot pipe bomb, boom, like real, or like talent that was fired too early, like, oh wow, shocking. Like I and like to bring him to come back to WWE, like, let you say what you will about Roman, but he seems like a company man. Like he seems like he's in it and he's like super cool. And I would love to meet Roman the person. Like I still don't want him to have the belt, but like I would love to meet him. but like CM Punk, like if he's just gonna be a jerk the whole time, or like have this attitude or this holier than thou, like why bring him back? Like AEW, like I can understand that because it was a big get. And he hadn't wrestled in a long time. His UFC career, Fog, I think you and I both watched his 2 matches together. Really disappointing. And then that happens. But like, I don't think he's exceptional enough to bring back into WWE for what purpose? And is he? I don't see. Yeah. I guess. Yeah, that's
money.
A great point.
That's it, man. Like the guy is a talker and he can talk. He has the ability to captivate an audience, and that's pretty much where it ends. I think he's way past his prime in the ring, and every match since when he first signed with AEW, when he returned, it kind of proves my point there. But the man can talk, and sometimes that's better than even being good in the ring, especially
every
in
time
WWE.
it's better than being good in the ring.
Well,
None of your top talkers are like super fantastic. Like
exactly.
Cody might be your exception. Cody's that one guy who can speak your head off, and he can go in the ring like nobody else.
Yeah, just look at Stone Cold Steve Austin. Look at The Rock. Okay, great talkers,
Cena.
but are they really that great in the ring as far as a wrestling? Like think of wrestling purist. It's not going to be them. But
because that's not as
larger than
important
life.
when you're really talking to business, and that's why people
Because
want to
the
rag
story
on
is.
WWE for changing. It's not wrestling, or pro wrestling, it's sports center. It's what it is.
Right.
It's not. They're not wrestlers, they're superstars. That's what they are, and rather that's what they're groomed to become. They are all groomed to become superstar, and that's what the stage is meant to do.
They're characters larger than life.
Yeah, the character here for the characters, I think, is USA Network's thing, and a lot of that I'm sure had to do with the WWE, because they're all characters. Their names aren't even their real names. It's not a realistic. It's not 100% realistic. Like AEW is going to get you closer to that realism. They have your win-loss records. They want it to mean something. A lot of these people use their real names or just whatever. But so it's not. I think from the business side of things, it's always really been about your personality. Look at LA Knight. Well, I mean, he's good in the ring, but him on the microphone is double the man in the ring, and that's not to shoot anything down about his in-ring ability. That's just how good he is on the mic.
Yeah.
So scary good, man. Scary good. Brilliant guy too.
I think
that's funny. He's been like that for years too. That's the funny thing. Like back.
He was jobbing in NXT for the most part. He literally, there was when they had that vacated NXT title, and I don't recall why it was vacated, but it was when Tommaso Ciampa won it for, I believe, the second time. That was Braun Breaker's debut episode, and Braun Breaker shows up in the very beginning of the episode, and LA Knight's there doing a promo, and he's bouncing in front of him, and LA Knight's looking at him like, "What are you doing here with that goofy look on your face?" They go out and have a match. So LA Knight had 2 matches on that show, and Braun Breaker squashed him on that show. The same night LA Knight was in that fatal 4-way for the NXT championship that Tommaso Ciampa inevitably won. So it's like, what did it not work in NXT and it worked on the main roster? But from my understanding and talking to Tim, the leader of the Revolution, he's now studied all of LA Knight / Eli Drake's career.
Eli Drake, dummy.
And he said that TNA and NWA, he was never booked well. So what happened? He turned 40, and all of a sudden people are like, "Oh, it's our guy."
I gotta dismiss that claim a little bit. He actually was booked pretty fairly in Impact. Okay, if you go back to that time period, he wasn't booked bad at all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, mind you, could he be the biggest face of the company for TNA back then? Absolutely. But they had many characters back then and many different talent. But he wasn't booked terrible.
Okay.
I mean, I was a fan of him back then. I was a fan when he went to NXT. I think he did well there too. What WWE did, they really flopped the fish in a sense. Is they put him as Max Dupree, and he still killed the damn character. That's a funny
something
thing
to be said about, like, and this is the thing that I argue, and I'm not going to get into this now, but a lot is that WWE's stage has a totally different way of propelling a person.
Yeah.
Like Jade Cargill is already a star, like a mega star already, and she just stepped foot in the door, and it's just something about, you take this person and put them here, and it just boom, so it's like, if LA Knight, who's 40, again, I'm going to say that not to knock his age at all, just to prove a point. So LA Knight is 40. He is the biggest star, in my opinion, in the WWE right now, not named Roman Reigns.
There you go.
But he's been here this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's almost like he needed WWE, and I'm going to say WWE needed him too, but he needed WWE in order to get him to where people saw him that way. Is that fair? I mean, why else was he not? Why wasn't Impact drawing 1 million viewers when he, or 2 million viewers, or 1.5?
It was Impact. It's nothing against them as a company.
It's the worst and the best answer. It's the truth, but it's a terrible answer. But that's the only answer you can give. Go ahead, Phil. Sorry.
Do you think that he is excelling now because, like, there's actually room for him to participate? And what I mean by that, it's like, you actually were talking about this earlier. Fog was like, you have you have the Bloodline, and then you have Judgment Day, and you have Cody, and then Jay, and then it kind of, and then Seth, and then it starts to trail pretty quickly. And like, especially since they've been releasing a lot of people, there's not as much backfill. Like they're not like adding a bunch of people.
Right.
They're trying to fill the gaps with what they have. And maybe he just happened to be the guy that shone through because he had the ability to shine through now because there was more room for him to grow. Because, and I know a lot of people who are released are maybe NXT talent or others, but maybe he just had the room now. Maybe there was the ability for him to fill in those gaps and just excel. And maybe if he wasn't performing as well as he would, they would try to fill it in with someone else.
Yeah.
Again, rampant speculation.
I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you because I don't totally understand how the machine makes a person. Like I'll be honest with everyone here. I was watching every single Brian Cage match when he was on AEW Dark, and that's just because I thought he was a great wrestler. And that's the only time I watched AEW Dark, and I did that for Wardlow too. I was kind of a fan of Wardlow at the time. Chris Statlander, all those matches on those YouTube channels, I was watching them because I followed them. The company they're in doesn't necessarily change a whole heck of a lot for me. But that's why I always say, like, I try to put my business hat on, because if I was running the business, I'd see the same way. But there's just something about that stage, that WWE stage, the presentation. Maybe it's who he's getting in the ring with. Maybe it's the fact that he is standing next to a John Cena, or there's the possibility of him standing in the ring with a John Cena or The Rock. That's truly the enticement there, is like, oh man, he could stand in the ring with an Undertaker, a Shawn Michaels, a Triple H, John Cena, The Rock, Stone Cold. Whereas when you have it, the impacts, the chances of him getting in the ring with like a star of that level is not zero, but it's not the same, I think.
I mean, really, it's just the man himself. It's Knight. He's shining.
Yeah.
I mean, and WWE is taking notice, and they've noticed it. They've noticed it since NXT. It's just finding the right story for him, basically, and they finally found it. And now look at him. He's taking advantage of every second that he is on TV. Every second that he put it in the spotlight. That's because that's how he knows what to do. Like he's been studying. I mean, he studies The Rock and Austin, obviously. And he's pretty open from taking cues from them, as he should, because guess what? They were successful.
Yeah,
so you might as well.
I do the same thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Where's the money?
Where's the money? You have to.
Where's the money?
In much like any other business, if there's an ability for you to shine and grow and get promoted, you have to take it. You absolutely have to do it. But even with like, I think you shared something on X-Fog about like he lost like 20 something matches in a row. Like that's probably too many now. It's probably too many. But he was like, this is the same man, with all due respect to Bray Wyatt, but like who lost in a black light match.
Whoa.
Like quickly, and now he's like, people are thinking he's gonna dethrone Roman. Guy. Like how in what a leap. Like
and
and I could see it, and if that happened, I would love it. And besides not saying anything negative against Roman, but like I could see it.
Yeah, we've done that.
And I know you don't mean to do this, Jay, but like when you talk about like the story and the development, like I often, in my field, in my career and other things, I look at things with like a childlike wonder. And like, if you told me today that LA Knight is beating Roman tomorrow, I'd be like, oh my God, like that is so cool. Like, oh wow, like great. And like story and metrics aside, I would have no conception of that. Like no build of it. It just sounds like it'd be a lot of fun. And like with Cody, like it felt right. And
I'd be happy for either guy. Absolutely.
Absolutely. I'm not disagreeing. I would love for either of those guys to finish their own stories and get to that top in due time. That's
right. Agreed.
But we don't know when the time is. I mean,
we don't make.
We have our speculations, and there's rumors and there's talk, and the people I've spoken with are kind of in the same page as me. Is we just gotta be patient and let them cook. It's like I say this stuff all the time about NXT every Tuesday, basically. Let them cook, because they're gonna cook, and they're firing on all cylinders right now. Like WWE is on fire, and it's for a reason. It's because the stories they're telling.
Yeah.
My only comment is that's totally fair, but sometimes you burn the meal.
Oh yeah, absolutely agree.
You know,
They absolutely
I'm
can.
stealing that. That's stolen. That's
it's just
stolen.
it just like I said, like I wish I had a better understanding of that sort of thing so I could be more
Yeah.
objective when. And I think it's also like, do you ever think they probably don't worry? This is me projecting, but like when Cody tore his pec, like what if that was like the end, or like this is such a business where like God forbid they take a turn wrong, they blow out a knee, and then all your plans are gone. Like, you know, it's kind of one of those things. It's like, you know, when Roman had COVID and Brock was supposed to face him, and then he it's a fatal 5-way, and then all of a sudden now he's that champion, and like
And they unified him.
it's tough. I can see it because it's tough because you have this plan, but like God forbid someone gets hurt or gets sick. Like when Roman had leukemia, you know, that was terrible.
Yeah.
You know,
that was brutal.
Like, so glad that he's okay.
Absolutely.
Everybody was a fan of Roman during that period.
You know, I mean,
that's the thing is sometimes it's hard to detach. Like you
That's
can't force people to like what they don't like sometimes. Okay, just real quick, I want to throw this. There is an account, and there's some hot takes that I want to laugh about too here.
Hit us.
Earlier, Phil. But before we do that, there's an account. He's very popular. His name is Kenny for Your Thoughts. And I don't know if he's doing this now or if this is something he was just doing one or two of, but he talked about this like butterfly effect in wrestling, and that Brock Roman thing was very interesting to read about. Is what if Roman didn't get, I think he got COVID, right? And he was off TV for a minute. Yes. And then Bobby Lashley, I think, got injured. And that's kind of the whole intermingling of Brock getting that belt back was because Brock was supposed to face Roman. Was Brock winning that belt that night?
Against Roman?
Had Roman not, I think it was for the day one pay-per-view. Someone will correct me if that's wrong, and that's fine. I need that in my life. But I think it was the day one pay-per-view that Roman got sick.
Right.
And Brock was supposed to face Roman, and then they switched it up or something like that.
Yeah, because it was supposed to be the Fatal 4-Way when Big E was champion, I believe. And then it was Roman and the other champion. It was supposed to be Brock against Roman. Was Brock supposed to beat Roman at that moment? I do not know.
Right. And then Big E was going to be in that match, and you were going to have, I think, Lashley, and then maybe Austin Theory would have still been in there. But then Brock just goes and interjects himself into the match, right?
Yeah, because they had to move him over. So instead of not having Brock,
he was booked for the show.
You got to have him come in.
I think we can safely say it's a fact that had Roman not fallen sick for that event, just in general, Brock wasn't winning that belt because he wasn't in that match. The only way that would have happened would be as if he pulled one of those things where I think he's done this once or twice at like a Royal Rumble where he lost a match at the Royal Rumble and then put himself in the Rumble and then won.
That was great.
Yeah. So, unlikely to have happened in that scenario, whereas it was kind of like, well, he's booked for the show. We're going a new direction. Brock's in the match. Now Brock's winning the belt. Right. So that's that butterfly effect. Now, there's a couple more hot takes you had, Phil. Yes. One of them is probably pretty quick. We've been talking about Cody and finishing the story.
Why is his finisher not called the Roadhouse? Why is it called Crossroads? It's because he goes across the mat. I get it, but like Crossroads is a 2002 Britney Spears movie, and you have Roadhouse with Swayze. Like, how do you not call your thing the Roadhouse? Like every time they talk about it, it's the Crossroads. It's like I get it. Cody is at a crossroads or something.
Exactly.
But like it 1,000,000% should have been called the Roadhouse.
I could care less either way because both are great, honestly.
I'm gonna get a petition going. We'll send it off to the internet, and then I don't know the legality here.
Have Cody Rhodes change his name.
Zero.
It's not gonna happen. But yeah, and then you had one more, and part of it was a detriment to a musical choice I made at my own wedding.
Yes. So like when you were coming out of your limo for your wedding, you played Kurt Angle's theme, and I regret to this day that we did not start the "You Suck" chant.
We absolutely should have.
Should have. I regret it so much. But Kurt Angle is one of those guys who has 1,000,000% earned his accolades, both as an Olympic gold medalist and as a talent. But like I do not care about him as a wrestler. Like his personality, his like Like
That's a hot take.
There's just nothing
of a very hot take.
It just and
legend.
And that's and I do not want to dismiss his ability or his status, but like,
of course not.
Like to go back to what I was talking about, watching these older things, like whenever he's on, like skip. Like I just like it. Just he has never really, he's never really done it for me. Never really done it for me.
I mean that's fair, man. Absolutely. Everybody has their own opinion on every character, and I think that's just yours, and that's fine. I mean, I'm sure there's others like you too.
And we talk about, what percentage of the fan base is X and what percentage is Y. I fully believe that opinion is the minority. Like I 100%.
You're aware.
It's probably
you're
the minority, but
yeah, it's a self-aware minority opinion.
I would argue though that it might be the minority because people are thinking of how they feel now about him, and I can say too, like Kurt Angle didn't show up as a babyface. In fact, he really didn't run much as a babyface. He was a natural heel because of people's tendency to just dislike him, I guess. I don't really know. I was a kid, but he was a heel. He was 100% a heel. And this is an Olympic hero, like that people are booing. So something about that just kind of rubbed people the wrong way or something.
And they strapped the rocket to him. Talk about like,
absolutely,
great rookie year.
It was a smart decision on their part to do that too.
Yeah, great rookie year,
business wise and everything. It just worked.
He's a part of a very small list. It's like him, Sheamus, and then there's another big name that's just not coming to me right now. I mean, Brock Lesnar, of course. But I think there was one more just fantastic rookie year of like winning top titles and whatnot. But I remember, I think the weird thing with Kurt Angle for me as a kid was like, it was the first time that I like learned a little bit more about like respect for what one guy does for another. And that was in Kurt Angle's match with Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, where Brock went over. And my understanding is I watched a documentary on that spoke about that. And I think Kurt was actually the one who was supposed to go over. And I don't remember what happened where they decided to go with Brock there. But I remember even, as a younger version of myself watching that going, that was really, really a great match. And I'm so happy for Brock. And I'm glad Kurt was the guy in there with him. Yeah. Because their story was just so good together. So, but I get what you're saying.
And to Kurt's credit, 2 points. One, his when he was on the Broken Skull podcast with Stone Cold, great story. Great to learn about the man Kurt Angle. But like when his last match was against Baron friggin' Corbin,
I hated that.
You can't get like, so, and I remember seeing a clip like Kurt talking about like he was already in an angle with Baron Corbin or something. Like that's when the business story like sucks about it, because you just kind of want to like put a wedge into it and be like, listen, we're gonna shatter the mirror for a few seconds, and Kurt's leaving. Let's give the man what he wants. Like he's earned it, and so that I can understand why being such a bummer, like like a bummer. But like anyway.
No, I agree. I mean,
I think sometimes it's not what you do, it's how you do it too, though. And like, I'm gonna do a reverse hot take. Is that a thing?
Sure. So a cold take or
cold take?
What?
Well, tell us what the take is, and then
here it is. You guys tell me what it is.
Oh, yeah.
I think Baron Corbin is criminally underrated.
Oh my God!
Hard disagree.
Criminal.
No, I agree 100%. He is.
I do not like that man at all.
Underrated.
I really do. When that guy gets
so
on
good
the
as
microphone,
a heel too.
Yeah, he can really get under your skin, and I think that's testament to his character. And I do think he's quite good in the ring. I personally think there's something about maybe his just general look that people just aren't taking to. Don't know why. But again, there's something crazy in this industry. Look at LA Knight. There's this like it factor, and a lot of that. I'm sorry, you can argue it all you want, but there's a reason you like people and there's a reason you don't like people. There's something about their look that just really speaks to you and really captivates you. And as a collective, it's not working for some reason. Almost no matter what iteration of Baron Corbin, outside of what should have been the ultimate failure and was not, and that was Happy Corbin turned into down on his luck Corbin.
That was the best Corbin. Absolutely the best. I enjoyed every second of that. All the little vignettes that they did, all the clips of him down in his luck, everything that time that he was like losing at something else other than a match. That stuff was so funny and it was compelling. I had to keep on watching that, and that was his best character work. But the lone wolf character is his absolute best. During NXT in the beginning, the presentation of his entrance alone was so
which is
good.
really good now too. His new entrance is quite good too now.
It's definitely good.
That.
I'm a huge fan of Corbin. I think Corbin has the ability to go far if the machine wants to be, wants to push him there. I think he can handle it up there. But, he has other places right now. I mean, he's down in NXT again for good reason. That's kind of like where they're sending some people just to almost do a repackaging before they're called back up and being like, okay, you're here now. So
the NXT is not supposed to be the minor leagues, is it?
Like it was. It's not anymore.
I have an argument to that. And
actually,
it is.
But actually, before that, a quick question. And here's what I'm thinking. My thought process before this question is that, I don't like Baron Corbin. You guys love him, but like you only have X amount of time in a week to get these stars on the show, and it's not like a sports team where it's like you have the same team every week. Like you want to see the people you like, and obviously because of the business aspect, you're going to see Cody on Raw, you're going to see Roman on SmackDown, but you only have X amount of hours. Could WWE benefit from bringing back something like a Sunday Night Heat, where there was a time in the Attitude Era where you had the 3 shows concurrently, and then Heat went away when SmackDown really took off, and have that Heat be like the B-list show. And I hate to say it like that, because NXT, like when you see all the main guys come down, it's kind of like it's not for. I didn't think it's for them. Like it's not for Becky Lynch. It's not for Dolph. It's not for Bray. It's supposed to be for
everyone.
People coming up. So it's like, do you think they could benefit from adding a smaller show again and then go back?
So they have it though. They have main event. I think it's only two matches, and it's on Hulu. It's really not appealing because it's like 45 minutes for 2 matches.
That's why we don't need anymore.
And it's a lot of like commercial and whatnot. But I'll say this: until NXT, when you watch a premium live event, what shows do the matches come from?
Like you mean like Raw and SmackDown, or
what are you talking about? Like, are you talking
when
about
do you have what are your primary premium live events? You've got like your Mania, your Fastlane, your Survivor, etc. Right? No match. Rarely, if ever, does a match come from NXT, nor is it normal. So until that happens, it's fine to say NXT is a respective third brand, but is it truly? Should I really sit here and say it is truly on par with Raw and SmackDown when those matches do not get put on premium live events? Also, you don't typically have a next in line superstar who goes through the Performance Center and training go to the main roster that is not already established. So if you hire somebody out of college and they are in the Performance Center, they're in the next in line program, whatever the situation may be, but they're brand new to the business, do they go straight to Raw or SmackDown, or do they go to NXT? Do they change that in the future? My point is, I get it. NXT is sort of like this, respectively, this third brand that's not technically developmental, but it is. That's where their people who need to be developed go, and they have their own premium live events, and those matches, those feuds that are on NXT, Carmelo Hayes and Ilya Dragunov 100% could have been on Fastlane, but it's not.
Oh my god, it would have killed it.
But it wasn't. So it's not
right. Yeah, I get what you're saying. But they are a third brand, whether it's a developmental brand, it's still a brand. And
people are just trying to push that developmental thing off. Yeah, correct.
And it will.
No doubt.
And it will. And they are. They're getting to that point. I mean NXT is probably more compelling than Raw and SmackDown and Dynamite and Rampage and Collision. You're looking at NXT being like the best live show every week at this point.
Hard to argue. I will say this though, and I don't know how this works in the future to now. I do think they have some wrongs that need to be righted with NXT, and that's that there was a very, very specific period of time where they were very detached from one another. You'd have people go from NXT to Raw or SmackDown, and their name would change, their character, Karrion Kross.
What's the last time they did that?
They don't seem to be doing that anymore. But there was a time. You got to remember that whole time frame was so negative and so poorly received that it still has laid like this detrimental feel to NXT to a degree. And I do think they're coming out of that, but like Karrion Kross, in my opinion, still hasn't recovered from that. And Keith Lee, I think that really ruined Keith Lee in a lot of ways too. Maybe not so much now, but when they had brought him up. But like, I think you get what I'm saying is like you'd have people come up from NXT and it's like new name, new look, new presentation. Like why did you take Karrion Kross's entrance away from him, for example? And I'm not gonna. It's the only example coming to my mind, but there's plenty of them. There's plenty of them out there, but that's the wrong that needs to be right. And I think that they're on the path to do that, but
they're definitely on the right path for that. I mean, they did do a lot of weird stuff like that, and it didn't make sense. But that was a Vince McMahon call. Well, Vince is not leading creative, despite what some people are saying. He's not. You know who is? Hunter. That's the reality. Yes, Vince McMahon does have his say, and Vince does. If he really wanted something bad enough, absolutely, probably could get it.
Right.
Because, it's Vince. I mean, it is what it is at the end of the day with that one. But that's not his call so much anymore, and he has so much more to deal with, business side and legal side right now. Let's face it. But yeah, they're getting out of that. They've been away from taking people from NXT and changing their name and changing their look.
Yes, thankfully.
It's been gone for I don't know over a year now. I mean,
it's been about a year. I'd say about a year. So, Phil, I know we're at time. Sure. Do we have any more hot takes or anything else you wanted to add to that? Any
real quick, Fog. The only thing I know about Karrion Kross is that he does a good Jesse Ventura impression, and I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's really good.
I'm so sorry. That's all I know about
really good.
Let's see. Quick blow by blows. Favorite Attitude Era wrestler not named Rock, Austin, or Triple H.
Get it?
Godfather, 100%. And pre-Righteous Enter Godfather. Just so great. Also, another great
Jeff Hardy.
Broken Skull. Oh, it's also so great. Hardy Boys, my favorite tag team of that era.
Yes.
Fog, comment. Do you have an opinion? A lesser known Attitude Era. Kane.
Lesser known. Yeah.
Lesser known. Oh.
I don't know about lesser known.
Steven Richards, yes.
Maybe Steve Blackman. It was
the Lethal Weapon.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
I really liked Al Snow, and when Maven showed up, I was a big fan of Maven too.
Oh my God, Tough Enough.
I'm not sure if that was it.
Yeah.
First season of Tough Enough was so great. So good.
I miss Tough Enough. I hope they're listening to this and they bring it back.
What was great about Tough Enough is
everybody will come after us.
And probably the most popular clip is when Triple H is talking about how Draws got paralyzed and how he talks about the realness of the business. Tough Enough really pulled the curtain back to show that while you have all these high flying superstars, that there is a toll, and you have to be, quoting Hunter, super mom, super dad. You have to be home and present, and it really kind of showed someone what they were really getting into.
Agreed.
And then, do you have a favorite match of all time? And I'll end it with that.
Jay, I'm going to give you this one. I need a minute.
Favorite match. Yeah, this is tough. Undertaker versus Mankind.
Oh, when he
Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
Hell in a Cell.
I'm going to go a little older. I'm going to go two. Yeah. I'm going to go one from now and one from the past. One from now is Roman and Sammy earlier this year. God, what a show. What a hell of a match. And then one of my favorite older matches is Bret Hart and the British Bulldog in SummerSlam in '92 for the Intercontinental title. That was so great. And there's a really funny story behind that. Like when you watch it. It looks like a masterclass. But I guess Bulldog, he had a problem with drugs. And according to Bret, right at the beginning of the match, Bulldog says to him, I don't remember what we were supposed to do. I was out partying, and and him and Jim Neidhart were getting high in the streets of London, and it was Bret's are you freaking kidding me, dude? But they pulled off a hell of a show. One of my favorite matches of all time.
That was a good match.
That was a good match, actually. Yeah,
I was a big British Bulldog fan for sure.
So great,
right?
So great.
Big fan. I was a big Marty Jannetty fan too. So I'm just
also great.
You are the Marty Jannetty. That's why.
Marty Jannetty. I'm good with that. I was a big fan of Marty Jannetty. Funny story. I don't know if I was a kid. I was in elementary school. This kid was there. He showed up and he had kind of longish hair. I was in 5th grade, I think. And I'm on the playground and I'm like, oh, you're new here. And then he said his name and whatever. And I was like, wait a sec, what? And then he told me he was that Marty Jannetty was his dad. And like, I don't know if he was
Are
lying
you
to me
serious?
or not. Yeah, I swear. I remember that to this day. He could have been lying to me. I don't know. I never tried to validate it or nothing because
it could have been possible.
He just showed up like in the middle of the school year or something like that. I don't remember. I just remember seeing this kid who looked like Marty Jannetty, and I was like, "Oh, you're new here, blah blah blah." And he's like, "Yeah, my dad's a wrestler," or something. And I was like, "So weird, so random." But
I have a friend who met back in New York. They were at a diner and Batista was there, and they got a picture with Batista. And this was like maybe 04, 05, and Batista did not care to be in that photo. Like you see him and you're like, he just looks like he's eating his waffles, and my friend just goes to ask him for a photo. It's so funny. But talking about running into random people. Oh, man. I have a story. I met wait, are we out of time?
Go ahead. That's what I was gonna say. You got another good story. So we're gonna have you back on at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to be. Thank you. So I met Hulk Hogan in the airport. Down here in Tampa, and they have, the way it happens is like the garage has a roof on it, it's a top floor rather, that's open air, so the elevator bank is like 8 deep, and I'm on one end, he's on the other, and I hit the button and I walk down and I say, "Sir, this elevator's open," and I didn't know it was Hulk Hogan. So I open the elevator, I get in, and I'm holding it open, and all of a sudden friggin' the Hulkster comes into the elevator bank, and he is huge. And this was like 2010, before he was really having a bunch of surgeries, but 2010, 2011. And I knew who he was, but I try very hard not to freak out in front of celebrities because, they're just people. You don't want to bother them. And we were talking. He's like, so where are you going, man? And I said, actually, I'm picking up my parents. They're flying in from Miami, and they come in every so often, and I pick them up from here. And he's like, "Miami, that's a rough town, brother. I did a lot of work down there, a lot of stuff." But he's like, "If you know what you're looking for, you can have a lot of fun." I was like, "Yeah, I'm sure it's real tough." And I'm like, "I know you did a lot of work down there, and it was just a really great experience." And he's like, "Yeah." And I said, "Where are you going?" He's like, "Oh, I'm flying home." And I didn't know where home was. I thought he was from Florida, but and that was it. It was very quick, very very low key. Elevator doors open. He steps out immediately. This woman is like, "Oh my God, it's Hulk Hogan." and he just just power walks to his thing. But he was super cool.
You were glued this whole time, composed, normal conversation with Hulk freaking Hogan, and this lady undoes all of that within a second.
And what was really cool about him is that he engaged me. Like, I would have been totally fine with leaving the man
because
alone.
You showed that you weren't starstruck, and he was like, "Hey, what's a human do with another human on an elevator
at an airport?
It's just the two of you. It's kind of awkward as is. This guy is not asking me for an autograph. Hey, where are you going, brother?"
Brother. And I was so when he said "brother," I was like, "That's awesome! That's awesome." Yeah. But he was super chill, and I'll never get over how big he was.
He's huge.
And I'm only 5'10". I'm not very big, but he was like. He could have killed me. That's how big he was. But he was so cool. Super cool guy.
Yep. Super cool. That's good. Hey, that's a good place to wrap it up. Like I said, love to have you back.
Would love to be back. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm gonna send you the schedule here this week. And then we got some more because I know we each have some more stories like that. There's a lot of stuff that we could have touched on that we just didn't. But yeah, man, thanks a bunch for having you.
No, thank you both. Thank you both.
Jay, I hope you got that outro lined up. I won't talk during it.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk. I promise.
But we're going to be going live again for those who are watching now or who will catch it after today again in about less than 3 hours. Actually,
absolutely. I only watch the shows I'm on, so I will not be watching.
That's fine. That's totally good. Same, bro.
I'm kidding.
Same, brother.
Same, brother.
So, cool. Well, we'll see you next time in less than 3 hours. Thanks again, Phil. It was fantastic.
No, thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody watching.
Looking forward to having you again.
See you all later on today.
Here we are.
Thanks for listening to Not Another Wrestling Talk Show. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. You can also find us on X/Twitter, @TheFogJones and @FeedYourMask. Your support helps us continue making this show and bringing you more great content. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.